And welcome back. All right, Lee, let's get to the code.
All right, excellent. I'll bring up Visual Studio for you. Here you go. I think it's this one. And I'm going to go ahead and reload this one just because I know it'll throw everything away and close it up. And I don't need it right now. All right, let's go to code. Let's go to the train system. I'm going to create a new class. And I think I'll call this TerrainMesh. I think that's what we've been calling it all along, so might as well keep with it. All right, I'll be nice for you too. I'll even clean up the namespace. And let's see, get rid of this stuff for now. All right, cool. Your turn. Go ahead and code that up for us.
Yeah, I've not even seen your code, which you happen to have on one of your screens beside you.
Oh, great. Can I copy and paste it then?
Yeah, whatever. Start typing. Nice try, Lee.
Well, you said I had it on the other screen, and I
Well,
do.
exactly.
It's like, oh, it did save me, what? Well, it's not too bad. It's only 164 lines of code.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, no, considering what it does. All right, well, here's our TerrainMesh class. I'm going to make it public. And in this video, pretty much I'm just going to get our fields and our properties in place. There's, a sizable number of them, so that will take us a bit to do, but let's go ahead and start. I'm going to start off with a few read-only fields. These are going to hold our size of our patch. This is going to be the number of vertices to a side. We'll have another one that's going to be the spacing. And technically, yeah, I should probably make that a float. Just, in case somebody wants to do a partial. So we'll do spacing, and we'll have a private static read-only material. And we'll call this material. This will be the material that gets applied to our mesh. Go ahead and add the Unity engine using statement. Now we're going to need a few static properties. These are going to hold the information for our base mesh, the one that I said we're going to create a single time and use over and over again. Because we're only going to create it once and it's going to be the same for every single one, it's going to be static. And this is going to be a list of type vector3. This will be our base vertices. And I'm going to give it a getter and a private setter. And go ahead and duplicate this 2 more times. I'm going to need a list of vector2s, and I'm going to need a list of integers. Now our vector2s are going to be our UVs, and our integers are going to be our triangles. This is pretty much the same as we've been doing all along, but these are just going to be static copies of this information. We're going to need some other properties that we're going to be able to access from external to our terrain mesh. They're going to be our mesh object itself. And at some point I might make these private, but for now I'm just going to keep them public just to make sure I have access to them until I'm completely happy, and then I'll downgrade them if necessary or restrict them more. And let's see, let's do a public mesh filter. Yeah, we'll call this one mesh filter. Public mesh collider. A mesh renderer, again public. And we're going to need a public mesh. So those will be the main, the main game objects and the components that we'll need to access externally. Now, in here, I'm going to set some, again, I'm going to make these public just until I'm sure that I don't need them anywhere else. So these will be some arrays. These are going to be the information that is specific to each TerrainMesh itself. So these are not the static ones, obviously. So these will be one to hold our vertices. So get and set. Duplicate this. We're going to need an array of vector 2s to hold our UVs. An array of integers to hold our triangles. And an array of vector 3s for normals. Array of vector 4s for tangents. And we'll make an array of color to hold colors. Now this one you haven't seen yet. One of the things that we can assign on a per vertex basis on a mesh is a vertex color. Now, if you guys have been following, some of the work in progress stuff that I posted a while back, one of the images or a couple of the images showed that the mesh, even without a texture applied to it, had some color that was applied via vertex coloring. I was using it to apply a color based on the altitude of the mesh. So I could make things that were below sea level more sandy color, and as things got further up in altitude, they became various shades of green, and then they moved into more yellows, and then finally into whites at the highest altitudes. And some people kind of commented on my Daco green grass at certain points. But that's how that was achieved, by adjusting the colors of each of our vertices. So we'll create one other property. This is going to be our position. And we'll use this simply to return our mesh object. So return mesh object dot transform dot position. Now, if we go with just this, we have the potential of causing an error. And that is because you can ask or try to set the position before the mesh object has been created. So we'll just do an if mesh object does not equal null, then return that. Else, or not else, don't need it. I'll just return null. And, oh, no, I can't do that. Do vector3.0. That'll be safe. And then we'll do a setter. So set is pretty much going to go the same way, except if mesh object is not equal to null, then we're going to set our position equal to value. So make sure that lines up right. All right, so that'll take care of that. So this will allow us to assign our position. Now the reason I'm going to do this, or have this ability, is when we generate a TerrainMesh, I don't specifically really want to give it a position, because I don't care where the mesh thinks it's going to be. I'm going to create it at 0 to start off with. But then when we go to update it, which is something that we're going to have to do every time we repurpose a mesh anyways, I'll have the update position the mesh as well as modifying all of the arrays for the vertices, UVs, etc., etc. So it will also be in charge of repositioning the mesh. So that's how we'll deal with that. Now, this will give us our initial fields and properties to move forward. In the next video, when we come back, we'll look at starting to, we'll put together the static constructor for this class, and then we'll skeleton in our 3 methods that we're going to use for creating the static mesh, and then we'll come back in other videos after that and fill in the stuff that we need to do to create the static mesh.
Okay, awesome. Well, with that, that is going to wrap up this video. Thanks a lot, everyone.